I think that's a little bit different though, because they're portrayed as the protagonists. Devil's Rejects. So it's like
in a sense, all slasher icons are protagonists in a way.
Right, that's the point, is that over time you start
I don't know if it was the point at first.
Right, but you start to cheer for those guys because they become larger than life. I mean, like, obviously the first Friday the 13th, no one's like cheering for Jason, or rather his mother, but then as you go along you have this like prolific character, this larger life, he's a fucking road warrior. He's a tank, he's going through people.
Yeah, he's road warrior hulking, no-sells everybody.
That's what I'm saying, he goes through people. Same with Freddy. Freddy was just a killer, and then he eventually became...
I didn't say that all.
He was quips.
Rapid C 6 minutes. Segment with Gangone carry 3. Into Gangone versus Lotto, which is 6. Special game versus 8 minutes. I'm going to hand it off to the range. Thank you.
Russell, help me.
You know, I had a solid foundation. I had my mother and my father, and I had my sister, and that's pretty much it. Everybody else in my life, as far as my family, they all live in a different country. I don't really relate to them. I don't really speak to them. I do have some like third or fourth cousins here in the States, but I see them every once in a while. But really, my intermediate family is all I have. And, you know, I had friends. I wasn't like the coolest kid. I wasn't a loser, as they would say. I was just in the middle. I was friends with everybody in some way. So pro wrestling is like one of the first things I remember. You know, I had action figures of wrestlers from 1996. So like, you know, it's my earliest memory, and I just never grew out of it. All my other friends, they grew out of wrestling. Me, I never grew out of it. I always knew that that's what I wanted to pursue. And in many ways, I already achieved my dream, which is being in a wrestling match. And I've been in a few really good wrestling matches. That's not necessarily what I would say, but that's what the fans or people, my peers, would say. So it took me a long time to figure out who I was in wrestling. especially in the beginning, I was very much a copy of other wrestlers, one being like Chris Hero. And then later on, I grew into being myself. And the thing with my gimmick or what I do is it could be heel or face. I could spin it in a way that makes me very unlikable, or I can spin it in a way which makes me very unlikable, which I can connect to the crowd because, you know, a lot of ways my character is very anti-authority, right? So my character in, let's say, the House of Gangone is anti-authority, right? But I turn into the authority, right? Because I have all these followers around me and I make them do my bidding and I brainwash them. So I literally become what I hate. But as a baby face or a good guy, right? I use that to relate, let's say with at Capitol with like Harry, right? He's the head of Capitol, right? But I relate Harry to, you know, the people in the crowd because they've all, at one point in their life, have dealt with a boss that they did not like them, that told them what to do, that treated them like garbage. And that's how I relate myself as a baby face to them, is that, yeah, I've been there, but you know what? I'm fighting against this kind of awful human being that Harry is. For me, I try to not get inspiration from wrestling itself. I try to get it from elsewhere because in wrestling, pretty much you've seen everything, right? And I don't want to be the second someone else. So I would say the biggest influence I have right now is John Carpenter films, like They Live or Big Trouble and things of that nature. I mean, I have a theme song that's kind of based off the theme of Big Trouble. And as far as my wardrobe and things of that nature, so I watched a Macho Man documentary where he's like, he's not the biggest guy in the world, and he would try to figure out how can I be larger than life, and he would come out with these great robes. And for me, I took that. I was like, I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so how am I going to stand out? Well, my entrance attire is one of them. So I try to take inspiration from, you know, comic books or films. Like I have a Kraven the Hunter kind of look, which is all fur and like tiger stripes and lions and things of that nature, as if I went to Africa and killed these animals myself, which I would never do, by the way. But I also have other attires that are based on like kind of V for Vendetta. Yeah, I have one jacket which is more wrestling based, but I have one jacket that's completely taken from Christian's attire from 2005. So yeah, I mean, movies to me and comics and things that are not wrestling are my biggest inspirations, just to stand out from the next person. So I was trying to think of an idea that could really make me stand out from other people, and then I thought about the V for Vendetta situation, and that was roughly about the same time that the Crusade for Change came out. So I felt so strongly about the idea that I actually messaged all three members of the Crusade, and I asked them if they would allow me to do this, because yes, they used the Guy Fawkes mask, but my mask is a play off that, but it's my face. It's in my own image. And they all responded. Darius took them like 6 months too, but they all responded. They said okay. So from that, a year later, they asked me to actually be in the Crusade, and we had a great run in Beyond Wrestling, undefeated, never lost. Darius is a great character, great. He has things that most wrestlers nowadays on the independent scene do not have. He doesn't really have moves, and that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. But the moves he has, he makes them count, and he's a great character. He's very polarizing as a human being, but he's someone that I've understood, and he's a great wrestler in my opinion. TJ Marconi, one of my best friends, he gets a horrible rap on things, but he's been there for me when things were very bad, and I just, you know, a lot of people just take a persona that's online and they think that's the real thing, but for me, I'll never say that TJ Marconi is a horrible human being, because he's never done anything to me, and I've never seen myself him do anything to anybody else. And I'm not saying that because he's my friend, because I've seen plenty of people that I thought were okay do horrible things to other people, and for me, I haven't seen that yet. Definitely not anything that I thought was so atrocious.
those who are culturally unaware, which is pretty much all of you gentrifying pieces of outer city trash. My name is Matthew Ryan Shapiro.
Matt Ryan, I want to say that he like booked me for something at some point that he was helping out at, and from that we kind of gained a friendship, and I realized, you know, he was a very good speaker.
This business is being torn asunder. I will talk all night. I don't care. You have nowhere to go. Neither do I. But I get paid to do this for a living. So shut up and sit down, jackass. This business is being brought down by neck-bearded social justice warriors who think a man could beat a woman. What? We're gonna put that theory to the motherfucking test.
I'm a huge fan of managers, Bobby Heenan, Sherry Martel, things of that nature. And wrestling does not have that anymore. And Matt Ryan, he's not a wrestler, but he's a manager. And there's too many out there, managers, that eventually will want to become a wrestler, but Matt Ryan's not one of them. And he's also helped me out on a personal level in if I reached out to him about certain things. So he's another guy that, you know, has some negative sometimes said about him, but like I said, I've never seen it myself. And if, you know, Matt knows this, I've been in the car with him. Anything I have to say that I didn't agree with or whatever, as stupid as it might have been, I've said right to his face, and we spoke about it for a very long time. So I love the Crusade for Change, but it wasn't my idea. It wasn't my vision of it, and that's fine because I wasn't the leader. I knew my place in that. But the House of Gangone was just something that I could put my stamp on, something that I really believed in. I had more creative license over that, and I took a bunch of people that were not doing anything, that the brass didn't feel like I attributed anything to the show, and I was able to create the stable and give positions to people that probably wouldn't have had them for 2 years, because I was in the room with them when they say, oh, you wouldn't be on the show if it wasn't for the House of Gangone. I literally heard other people say that to them. And to me, it's like, all right, well, I believe in these people, and I think they could go far. And the only thing I wish that it did get over with the crowd at a certain point in time. I just wish that we were able to tell the story of its ending so that everybody would have gotten over it. But unfortunately, you learn that in stables, and with individuals, everyone kind of has their own agenda, and eventually that kind of breaks apart. But overall, from February 2017 to August 2018, that is the House of Gangone to me. To me, I took it as a challenge. Now, was I necessarily a fan of the no ring matches? No, but I didn't look at them negatively. It just wasn't something for me, or something I've really gravitated towards. But then Tino asked me if I would do it, and I said yeah, because the way I took it is like, it was a challenge for me to do something that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with or felt like I could do, but I wanted to be the best at it. And it was like, that's the way I look at it in every match. So when I face someone, I want to be like, I want this person to think that I'm their best opponent they've ever had. And the way I took it for the no rings match, I should say, is that I wanted to be the best person to ever do a no rings match, which was like just to put some sort of story. And the way I took it is just, it was a fight scene in a movie. You know, what we do in wrestling is very much an artistic thing, and it's very much similar to what they do in movies. So I took it as a stunt scene in a movie. How do I make it work? How do I use story and not just moves and all that nature? And you know, I had a great opponent in Valentina for me as a heel, because she's a smaller individual, and she's very likable, and it was very easy for me. And then we played off the whole, you know, I'm a man, you're a woman, I'm stronger, all that jazz that a horrible, disgusting male would would do in real life.
And I heard that you're the baddest bitch on the block. That's the deal. It's 2019, girl. I'm the baddest bitch on the block.
There was one day, I want to say September 2018, that I just was like, I don't want to be alive anymore. So I took a bunch of pills, and then I threw them up. And then the next day, I was just like, you know what? I got a curse, but fuck this. Like, I'm dying. So I took all the rest of the pills, and there probably was like, I don't know, 50 to 70 pills left. Took them all and went to bed. And I was not expecting to ever wake up again. And I woke up, let's say an hour and a half, 2 hours later, with the most awful stomach pains. Like, terrible stomach pains. And my dumbass thought that, hey, I read that Epsom salt can help. So I took an Epsom salt bath thinking that it was going to help. But no, it's my body reacting to, hey, I don't want to die. And a friend rushed over, and TJ also came. And one of my friends texted TJ to come check on me. And TJ, like, pretty much, would break down the door to come take me to the hospital. And, like, I argued with him forever. I'm not going because, once you go to the hospital and you tell them that situation, they'll put you in the mental institution. And they can keep you there for 72 hours at the very minimum. And for me, that's jail. Without going too deep into it, I've already been there, and I don't want to go back. Like, I'd rather die kind of thing. That's not the best thing to say for people, and that's just for me mentally, like, to say. So if you need help, and there's no other choice, I think you should go there. But for me, it was just not the place. But eventually I did go. Just in the waiting room alone, I threw up 11 times, and just I would throw up, a minute later throw up again, and that was just my body reacting. And then I lied to them when I got there and said I had like severe stomach pains. It could be food poisoning, whatever it was. And they put me up to an IV. They gave me some kind of like stomach relaxer or whatever with those IVs, and it was like multiple IV bags as well, and just keep throwing up. And then eventually they did let me go after I don't know what it was, 12 hours. But that's just because I never said why I was really there. And I figured, like, if I was gonna die or my heart was about to stop, this would probably be the best place for me to do it, right? But it put so much pain on my family and my friends to see me in that situation. So yeah. So I always wanted to tell people I was bipolar. I was diagnosed roughly 2.5 years ago from what we're recording. And I always wanted to tell people, but I did not think my platform was big enough to really reach out to as many people as possible to let them know that you're not alone, kind of thing. And then a situation occurred where someone, for lack of a better term, outed me with it, and I do not. I'm not angry towards them anymore. I actually made up with one of them about it, but I just wasn't ready for it, and I didn't think it was someone else's opportunity to tell other people about my medical history. And so now, that happened, and I thought it was very messed up, but then it was kind of a blessing in disguise. And I received hundreds of messages that day from people like, oh, I have this family member, or I dealt with this. And it was really turned out to be a real big positive. And I just want people to know that maybe living with it, or maybe living with, depression or whatever, that there are better days ahead. And life is rough. It's very rough. It is not fair. And trust me, I know that. And that doesn't mean like every day I'm just happy. Yeah, so happy. It does not mean that at all. But I fight. I fight every day to be good and positive. And so I kind of, that's the message I want to give out. And if I could help just one person, you know, not hurt themselves because I've been there, then that's enough. But hopefully my wrestling career, like I do it for the fans, I do it for the art of it, and I do it for me. And when it comes to the fans, I just want them to know, anyone that's struggling in that area, that it will be okay. And look at me as an example. Like I was able to fight against it.
So, Nashville, Tennessee.
It's official. I have talent.
Nice. So, you excited?
I am. First time here. First time in this state as well. So, venue's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Hoping maybe Jeff Jarrett comes. Makes a special appearance. It's double R.
JARRETT.
There you go. That's why I don't do his promos for him. He does it.
Exactly.
And then go to the third page.
Fine. I'm not signing my
Alright,
Sign. What's this place called?
This is your. So, how'd that go?
Swagger, Hager, whatever you want to call him. Legit athlete, legit background in MMA, amateur wrestling, national champion. So, try to go out there and try to test myself against him, and he kind of just overpowered me the whole time. And Darius, we've wrestled him. Get out of here. Why are you always in these? Like, why is he always in these? But Darius, we faced 1,000 times at this point. He's broken my ankle. He's giving me concussions. I hit him just as hard back. And at the end of the day, it's all about competition. So hopefully take this, keep getting better, keep learning, all that stuff.
No ring match to me was a defining moment because we had no promotion. There was no promotion there's no this is WCW. There was no tagline, nothing. It was not a wrestling promotion. And from that, with the person behind the camera and my opponent, we were able to get millions of views.
Who's that asshole?
I have no idea. But we were able to get millions of views, and that taught me hey, maybe I don't need promotion having my back. Maybe I don't need the machine pushing me forward. Maybe it's just all me. Another match is my match with Kaz Hayashi because there was so much, for lack of a better term, drama surrounding that time frame, and I just went out there as me, no house of game, nothing, and I just went out there and be the best wrestler I could with the very, very little amount that I had, and I feel like I took that very little amount and really stretched it out to being a really decent match for that crowd that day. Other matches or the no ropes matches because it's not the no ropes thing. It was not my idea. I saw it done elsewhere, but I feel like those matches are really the pinnacle of me and being a storyteller in wrestling. And that was the most important thing for me, is being a storyteller. And I think that those are the shining lights of my career. And it was as close to as perfect as a wrestler as I have gotten thus far. My ideas as a wrestler are very, very different from everybody else. So when I say that, everyone wants to get signed, everyone wants to do this, everyone wants to be on TV, everyone wants to be an extra, all this other stuff. And to me, I don't, at this point in my life, and that's never saying oh, I'll never do that, I'm too good. That doesn't mean I'm too good for it or anything like that. It's just not my dream. My dream was to be a wrestler and be the best wrestler I could be. And I spent all of 2019 rebuilding myself, not second guessing myself, rebuilding myself health-wise, mentally, as a wrestler, all that, to get ready for the next step. And to me, the next step is going to major indies, whether that's in this country or another country. Like, that's the next step for me. And it's not necessarily for the exposure, it's more necessarily to get myself better with those kind of competitors. Like, when you think about that, you're thinking about like places like Evolve that have these wrestlers that are next level wrestlers, that they're the cream of the crop of indie wrestling. And that's where, those are places I would like to be. And you know, those are my goals. I mean, it's not the money, it's not to be on TV, it's not to brag. Oh, look at me, I'm here. And all I care about is just being the best wrestler I can be and being happy with the art that I put out there.